a lovely patient. She was in her 30s. She had some nose fill-up by a non-medical practitioner just down the road from where we are. She had the treatment in the morning. There was a lot of pain during the day. She went back to the salon or whatever it was. And she said, the color of my nose is going a bit off. It's going a little bit dark now and it's getting more and more painful. And the person there, the injector, had a look and said, no, it's fine. It's just a bruise. Go away. It got worse and worse through the day. Patient went back. Patient's just crying, saying it's so painful now. It's almost becoming purple. And they said, it's just a bruise, go away. Then later on, patient calls the clinic back and they just hung up and they block her.
So welcome back to the Late Aesthetics Show. Today we're joined by the absolutely fantastic Dr. Manav Bawa, a highly respected aesthetic doctor, medical director of Time Clinic and an advocate for patient safety as part of Safe Face. So welcome to the Late Aesthetics Show.
Yeah, thank you, Vanessa. Thank you so much for having me.
I can't wait to delve deep into sort of like your insights, your knowledge, and really to educate people, which is the whole point of this platform. So what first drew you to the aesthetics industry and what has surprised you the most about this industry?
Yeah, so going through my medical training and then jobs afterwards, surgery, GP, I always knew that I wanted to do something practical. So when I was finishing my GP training, I kind of found aesthetics somehow and monitored it for a while. And I thought, I'm not sure. And then you kind of watch all these superstars on stage and I was really, really attracted to it. It gave me the opportunity to do the practical side of things, as well as the consultation side, the assessment, and it was a rapidly growing field. So I thought, okay, let's do my foundation training. So I did it and I fell in love with it straight away.
Yeah, no, it's a really fast-paced industry as well. I bet it's very different now to what it was when you first started.
Totally different. I mean, it moves so fast, doesn't it?
It really, really
Always
does.
something you can.
And you've had experience in general practice and now aesthetics. And how do you feel that those experiences have shaped the way that you approach patient care?
Yeah, it's really interesting. At some points, I thought, did I need to do, the surgery and the general practice? But then I think, actually, the whole surgical side of things gave me the practical skills. And then the whole GP side gave me the consultation skills. So putting that all together has really helped me develop into the practitioner that I am. So yeah, I kind of look back on my own journey and think everything happens for a reason.
Of course it does. And sometimes the right place, right time, right things happening around you. So it's really, really important. Let's talk about, we'll get straight into it and talk about regulation in the industry and the lack of regulation, I would say, in the UK specifically. So we'll go straight into it. What's your views on the lack of regulation that we currently have in the UK?
It's absolute madness. It's just chaos out there. It's the wild, wild west. And I'm sure you and everyone listening would have heard that before. And I think we're one of the only countries in the world where there's no regulation in what we do. And we've been fighting for regulation for a long time. And so hopefully we may get some licensing coming, but we have to watch this space. But we have to keep pushing and pushing.
Yeah,
and it's all for patient safety at the end of it.
Exactly. And have you came across any specific horror stories that you kind of have heard in the clinic or patients have come up to you, shared their experiences? What's the top horror story that you've heard that the listeners can obviously hear about?
Yeah, so this happens regularly. And the one that comes to mind was a lovely patient. She was in her 30s. She had some nose fill-up by a non-medical practitioner just down the road from where we are. She had the treatment in the morning. There was a lot of pain during the day. She went back to the salon or whatever it was. And she said, the color of my nose is going a bit off. It's going a little bit dark now and it's getting more and more painful. And the person there, the injector, had a look and said, no, it's fine. It's just a bruise, go away. It got worse and worse through the day. Patient went back. And now this time the injector got their trainer, a non-medical injector, on the phone. They did a little video call. Patient's just crying, saying it's so painful now. It's almost becoming purple. And they said, it's just a bruise, go away. Then later on, patient calls the clinic back and they just hung up and they block her. And then they come into seeing one of my colleagues and then they got me involved. And yeah, really scary, really
So
scary.
what happened? What was the problem? For those of who don't know, that's probably a vascular occlusion.
Yeah, that's right. So
Yeah.
there was a blocked blood vessel by the dermal filler, so blocked or compressed. And so what happens is there's a lack of blood supply, hence a lack of oxygen to the skin. And that's why we get all these problems. Now, if we hadn't intervened in time, that patient would have lost her skin and more.
And then you're talking about skin grafts later on.
Plastic surgery, all this kind of stuff. So it's scary.
Yeah. So this is quite an out there question, and this platform isn't about medic and non-medic. That's not what it comes down to. The reason why I have the top medical practitioners on this podcast is because they're at the top of their game, whereas some people aren't. However, do you think that non-medics should be banned from performing injectable procedures?
Yeah, I think, like I said before, we're one of the only countries in the world where anyone can lift up a syringe. And I'll give you an example. A few years ago, my bank manager gives me a text, calls me up, says, "So I'm thinking of training to do lip filler. I really want to do it. It looks really cool. I can make some cash, this, that, the other." And I was flabbergasted.
Your bank manager?
Yeah. And I thought, what's going on here, right? And I said to them, I said, okay, let me rephrase this to you. Let's say if I did a 1 or a 2 day course on managing your investments or your mortgage or whatever, would you let me do that? Would you let me look after hundreds of thousands of your pounds? The answer was hell no.
Yeah.
So, why would I let you inject my face?
Right? And the reality of that situation is that specific individual could go at the weekend on a Saturday course, and on Monday they would be legally allowed to pick up a syringe, a needle, and start injecting your face.
Yep. And what's worse, sometimes they don't even have to go anywhere. They
can do it online.
online.
Yeah. So yes. This is why I think we desperately need regulation in the UK. It's not a case of in 5 years' time. It's literally now we need it.
It's now.
Exactly.
It's definitely now. But this just also brings up the next part of, if we get licensing, the government have to police it correctly.
Yeah.
And not just give everyone a license.
Well, this is it. And I think even now, like the CQC, they are overwhelmed with a backlog, obviously, from the pandemic. So I've heard people they're having issues with like the CQC, that their inspection dates keep getting pushed back, etc., etc.
Yeah, the problem is that the CQC don't regulate things like dermal filler or botulinum toxin for some areas. So it's the government and the legislation.
And then the CQC could, in a sense, then control that and make sure that the standards are across the board. But even the CQC, I mean, it's worrying because they do regulate. So for those who don't know, the CQC is the Care Quality Commission, and they regulate hospitals, GP practices, dental practices, care homes. And they basically rate them. And they do actually regulate some parts of an aesthetic practice, but not all of it. It's a very, very small part that they do regulate. So the fact that there is a backlog in care is quite concerning. But, I think if we had a standard rule across the board that medics are allowed to do this list of procedures and non-medics are allowed to do that list of procedures, I think that would just allow for some more clarity out there.
Yeah, and that's what's being proposed, a red light traffic system.
Yeah.
But there's still too much grey in the amber. So it just needs to be ironed out a little bit.
But I think if we look to other countries and we look to what other countries are doing, it's not that complicated. It doesn't need to be overcomplicated.
It needs to be simple.
Exactly. So if you were to introduce, let's say, one law, if you were, an MP, you were sitting at Westminster in the House of Commons and you were there and you wanted to introduce one law tomorrow, what would it be?
Yeah, you have to be fully qualified to practice in this field. It's just as simple as that. And like Vanessa, like you said, let's just keep it easy, straightforward, just how all the other countries are doing.
Yeah, doesn't need to be. If you've gone on this certificate, if you have those CPD points, it's not. No.
It's too much grey.
I think it's easy. Look, if you have a medical qualification, you can start doing injectables. You can start doing like ablative lasers. That's how easy I think it should be.
Yeah, so I mean, you've got your whole category of medics, and rightly so. You've got your doctors, dentists, nurses, etc. And it's ensuring that those treating patients are adequately qualified, understand the treatments they're doing, can manage the risks, can prescribe what they need.
Yeah.
Because remember, a lot of the toxins they're POMs, right? They're prescription-only medications. And when patients come in and they say, oh yeah, I've just had this Botox treatment from so-and-so down the road, I just say to them, but how did they get it? Because they can't prescribe it for you.
I know. And then you get into counterfeit toxins. There's things like botulax, which isn't even like, it's like a copycat version, and then that's what leads to lumps under the skin.
Yeah, I think there's a lot that leads to complications in this.
Too much.
That's a whole nother
Yeah.
serious podcast.
No, I know we get save face on here. So do you think that the UK is failing when it comes to aesthetic regulation?
Yeah, without doubt.
We do need to improve as a whole, as a whole country. But I think what I've noticed over the years is this industry has become a lot easier to access. So to be able to start up being an aesthetic practitioner, it doesn't really take a lot. So do you think the industry's become too commercialized?
I think, yes. I think it's, like you said, it's easy to start. You go on a course for a day, you start up an Instagram page, find a place to do it. And people are injecting in their living room. And I've heard stories from patients. The practitioner will be there, patient will come into the living room, cats and dogs running around, there's a crying kid over there. Yeah. And you just think, how's this safe, right? So it's...
I know, but
It is too easy. It's easily accessible, but we don't want to make it too hard for patients to access the correct type of practitioner. And that's the important thing. We want to educate patients in the right way. Exactly. And the problem is, patients will walk down the street, they'll see 10 nail bars, beauty salons that are doing these treatments, and it just becomes so normalized. Whereas it shouldn't be like that, should it?
No, I mean, I said this on a previous podcast where going and getting injectables is as easily to do as going and getting a haircut, go and get a blow dry, your manicure, pedicure. That's how easy it becomes. And it shouldn't be like that, because we're the only country where it is like that. And I think when people from other countries, they come to the UK, they are shocked that that's allowed to happen. And we're seeing all these like undercover like investigations now taking place, where if you haven't seen them, go and like have a little look, because it's absolutely ludicrous that that's happening.
Yeah, I stopped watching these videos.
I know,
it gives me nightmares.
It's horrendous, exactly. So moving on to social media influence, because whether we like it or not, we do live in an era. It's like we connect via Instagram. That's how we connect with people. We don't connect with a business card, as we said off camera. We do connect via social media. So it does play a vital role in our industry. And I think specifically because our industry is very image led. So people look at your social media and, they learn different things. And I can remember you were on This Morning a few months ago, maybe 4 or 5 months ago now.
Yeah. That's right.
And you were discussing BBLs, non-surgical BBLs. So what was that whole experience like for you, and why do you think that BBL should be banned?
Yeah, so I'm with SafeFace, so I'm on the governance board, and they were asked to come and speak with a doctor to give my expert opinion on the tragedy that happened when that patient had a BBL in the UK and unfortunately passed away. And so that's how I got called up. So the call was the night before, and then had a few hours to prep, went to the studios, which was an experience in itself. Everything was done to the second. Yeah. It was it was a good experience. It was a great way to educate patients on the dangers. And obviously it was a very tragic story. So we had to show a lot of respect, obviously.
Yeah, absolutely. But it's important to educate about the dangers associated with certain procedures. Yeah. Do you think that the media then, does it harm or does it help the business, the industry that we're in?
Yeah, I think both. I think it helps. So when we educate patients, and so many of my wonderful colleagues are doing that, we're educating patients in the right way, teaching them the right treatments, the risks, the anatomy even, what's going on, how these treatments work.
Yeah.
I think that's really, really good. But then we have the flip side, when you've got people that are doing all this crazy stuff on camera, and the patients will go away and they'll somehow get hold of some products where you can on Amazon or wherever, and they just start doing it themselves at home. So I think we have a big responsibility to educate our patients in the right way. And use the power of social media in the correct way as well.
Exactly. And then do you then think that type of social media, does that make aesthetic treatments look too easy and really accessible?
I think it can do. And again, it comes down to our responsibility, how we promote these treatments and how we educate our patients. But like I said, sometimes it can come across as too easy.
Well, exactly. And I've seen people that use like filters to promote like their before and after images. And it's literally a filter. It's not that practitioner's work. It's a filter that's been applied to that individual probably on the same day, but they're making out as if this was their 6-month transformation or something like that. Would you like to see a stop to that? Would you like to see those types of Instagram filters banned?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people Photoshop, etc., use filters, and I think it's not telling the truth, is it?
No, I think it's putting this image out there. It's like a distorted beauty, and it's a distorted ideal that we have as an industry. So yeah, I think that we can hone in on that and rein that in a little bit, definitely. Do you think, so in this industry, it's important to say no. And quite often when I have guests on the show, we always talk about when is the right time to turn away a patient and give them the cooling off period and know when is the right time to say no, basically. And there's a lot of body dysmorphia in our industry. And I think being a trained practitioner, you are trained to spot certain signs. Have you come across any situations where you have had to say no to a patient because they are displaying signs and symptoms of body dysmorphia?
Yeah, all the time. I say no to about 10% of patients. And it's such a great question and topic. There's so much we can talk about. Give you an example. I had a 23-year-old patient came in with her mum saying, oh, I need my tear troughs done. And tear troughs, there are hollows under the eyes. And I looked at her and I was listening, and I give all of our patients 45 minutes as a consult, never treat on the same day. So always a 2-week cooling off period. And I was looking at her, in my mind, I was like, you haven't got any tear troughs. You know, what's going on? So red flag. Okay. And then I always ask patients as part of my form, how bad do you think this concern is? So your tear troughs out of 10, 10 being the worst you've ever seen. And she said 10. Second red flag. And third one was, our next question is, how badly does it bother you? And she goes a bit quiet, and mum steps in and says, well, she doesn't leave her dormitory, her room in halls. She's at uni. She doesn't really have any friends. She's not going out with anyone, anything like that. So third red flag, obviously there's an issue. I know I'm not going to treat her now. But I probably spend another hour consulting her, finding out what's going on. And not just saying no, but educating and trying to explain to her that it's not the right thing for you.
Yeah.
Because just a no like that, they'll go down the road and someone will do it for them. So it's really helping them to understand that that's not the problem. The problem is probably how their own thoughts of what they look like, or what they perceive they look like. And I do that with photos and video, and just to show them that, actually show her, you don't have any tear drops. So putting any filler there actually will make things look worse.
Yeah, exactly. And you're right. And it's not just having a straightforward no, because they will go down the street and there'll be practitioners that will carry out that procedure. Yeah,
and you don't want to break someone's soul, right? We've got to be compassionate. Inside that patient, there's turmoil, right? There's so much going on. There's so many conflicts.
Of course, yeah.
And so we've got to be compassionate, empathetic, and educate in the right way too. And so I try and signpost back to their GP or psychologist, but it's very hard to do that. You can't just say, okay, you need to go to someone. That's not the right way to do it. So it can be tough, but I've learned through my career that if I get a gut feeling of I don't think I should treat, I know straight away I'm not.
Yes, and that comes with experience. It yeah, absolutely. Are there any treatments that are available in the medical aesthetics industry that you refuse to perform?
One that comes to mind, do you remember that lemon bottle?
Yeah. So we were talking about this on another podcast. So why don't you perform lemon bottle?
So that was so any treatment that I bring into the clinic, I really look at it for a long time. I don't just bring it straight in. see the results, what's happening, long-term effects. And this was all just such a haze. It was too cheap. There wasn't evidence behind it. The ingredients weren't even there.
I know,
So we
yeah.
don't even know what was in it. So that was a definite no.
And I think the company actually refused to publish their ingredients list.
Yeah.
And it wasn't CE marked, which means it hasn't gone through any basic testing, let alone like actual trials.
Yeah, I don't like naming brands,
Yeah.
but that was just one that I didn't go for.
Yeah, I mean, I don't really know many respected practitioners that do offer that, to be perfectly honest.
The other one is BBLs, and with that, so BARPS, the British Association of Aesthetic Plastic Surgeons, they said no one should be doing it first, but then they came back and they said actually it can be done in theatre, sterile conditions by plastic surgeons under ultrasound guidance.
Yeah.
And so I wouldn't be doing that. But if someone really wants something along those lines, I would refer them to the right person.
Definitely. No, I mean, I had a great plastic surgeon, Dr. Tasmin, and she is a plastic surgeon. And she said, look, when BBLs are carried out by a plastic surgeon in the right environment, they are safe to do. But again, you need to have a plastic surgeon who understands what they're doing.
Well, that's it.
Yeah,
not exactly in the garage around the corner.
Yeah, I know. And the shocking thing is that's actually not illegal in the UK. So do you think that patients should undergo a psychological assessment before getting certain treatments?
Yeah, I think in general, as part of all of our consultations, and I know as part of ours, we do a kind of simple assessment, and any kind of red flags, we'll delve into that a lot more deeper. So I think we should all be touching on BDD.
Yeah, exactly.
100%.
There's some trends in our industry. So you must have heard of like fox eyes and like Barbie Botox. What are your views on those trends?
I think a lot of those, such as Barbie Botox, we've been doing for many, many years, but someone very clever with a very good marketing brain has caught on to it. The film Barbie was out. Oh, look.
Yeah, let's make it. This is what it's called. Yeah.
So it's just all marketing, isn't it, really? And we do a lot of these treatments.
Exactly.
Anyway.
So the industry's changing and it's continuing to change.
Yep.
As we've mentioned, it's a very fast-paced industry. So where do you really see the future of aesthetic medicine? Do you think that we're moving away from this kind of like this frozen look that was quite popular years ago, this overfilled look? Do you think that it's had its day now, or do you still think there's a place for that?
I think each to their own. And this is what I say to patients. I say, or they'll come in to see me because most of my patients want a very, very natural look. They don't want anyone to know that they've had any treatment. And if someone comes in and says, oh, I'm really scared of looking frozen or overfilled, I'll say, look, each to their own. Some patients may like that, and that's okay, but it's not what I do. It's not what I promote. And so none of my patients really want that. Maybe a couple here or there.
Yeah.
But I am generally seeing a trend moving towards a natural look.
So then that leads us more into regenerative medicine. Do you believe that regenerative medicine is the future of aesthetics?
I think it's got a big future, and everything is moving towards a biostimulation, regenerative, as you said. But I think there's definitely still a place for dermal filler. At the moment, there's a lot of fear out there, unfortunately. Yeah. But we lose volume in our face. We lose our fat pad volume, our skeletal structure, and we'll need to replace that. So filler will come back in.
Exactly. And there is definitely a place for filler, I think when used correctly with the right patient. Do you think that AI and like facial recognition software, do you think that is influencing the way that we approach aesthetics? Is that influencing the way that you as a practitioner maybe do your consultations? Are you being trained in a different way or told to do things in a different way?
I think AI is the future, and so we should all probably embrace it. But to a certain level, I know there are programs out there that can help you write your notes. So we can use it to increase efficiency. But there's nothing like the human eye, a trained aesthetic eye.
Yeah.
And my worry is with AI assessment is that they want everyone to be very perfect. And actually the beauty of everyone is we are imperfect. And again, another example, I'm getting more people coming in after nose jobs saying, my nose is too perfect. give me a little tiny bump here.
Oh, wow.
So it's not obvious.
Yeah.
And, when patients come in and they've got these little dimples, I don't like them. I'll say, listen, this is what gives you character. This is you.
Yeah.
I'm not taking them away.
Exactly.
Embrace them. No one's really fully symmetrical, are they? If you look at anyone down the street, how many people are perfectly symmetrical? And what's really funny is if you put a mirror and you do right and left, a reflection, everyone looks really odd.
This is so true. And I've seen like when they take, because there's obviously that ratio of like what the ideal beauty should be.
Fine ratio.
Exactly. And they take it and they make like celebrities such as like Angelina Jolie or Margot Robbie, and they give them that exact ratio. Like obviously they use computer software to do that. But actually 9 times out of 10, they always look so much better the way that they were before that ratio came into play.
And I used to really believe in the phi ratio, the golden ratio, and there used to be these Markard masks that we could use to place over it, just see where the inefficiencies were. But actually now I've embraced the patients are not perfect. And like I said, that's the beauty of everyone.
Exactly. Is there any innovation that is currently trending in aesthetics that really excites you?
That's a good question. And the one that comes to mind is probably AviClip, because it's a big device that's doing something not many other things are doing. If I didn't know anything else, that's actually curing acne. And that's huge, not just for the cosmetic or aesthetic side of things, but physically and mentally and emotionally as well. Yeah.
So for those of the listeners who don't know what AviClear is, what exactly is it?
Yeah, so it's a laser that can cure acne, and I'm just seeing amazing results.
And you're using that in the clinic at the moment?
So one of the clinics
amazing.
My clinic, they've got it.
Oh, fantastic. And how quickly can that tackle acne?
Yeah, so it takes time, a number of sessions, but it does work.
Okay. And what makes it so unique?
There's nothing else that does that.
Okay, great. If you had to predict where the aesthetics industry is going in the next 5 years, what do you see changing?
I see a lot more biostimulation, as we've touched on. I also see longevity and wellness really coming in, and it has been creeping in for a while. But I see that really taking a big space in aesthetics.
Yeah. And because, we're living a lot longer, but we need to be able to live longer and be healthier.
That's it. And it's all about being healthier. And one thing I say to my kids, I think, is I'm going to be a lot older now. Hopefully. We're going to get to, 90, 100.
Exactly, yeah.
But I want to be healthy.
You don't want to have a chronic illness or be in chronic pain. Yeah,
exactly. So I want to be able to walk around and hopefully play with my grandkids and that kind of thing. So it's looking after ourselves. And patients are a little bit more receptive to that. And I think going on my own journey with that and sharing that, they're more receptive.
Are there any top tips that you can give somebody listening who just want to improve their general health?
Yeah, so just simple things. A big thing that I've learned is sleep and how important it is, because I was the typical person, not much sleep, work. But actually, over the last year, trying to improve my sleep, I can see a big difference in myself. I actually have more energy, more focus. I'm eating better, which really helps. A lot more exercise. So investing in myself.
And how did you improve your sleep? Because I think for a lot of people, they really struggle with their sleep. They struggle to get, let's say, a solid 7 or 8 hours.
Yeah.
How do you improve your sleep?
Well, firstly, having little kids makes it always hard.
Yeah.
But I got one of these Aura Ring things.
Okay.
And it used to tell me how bad my sleep was. So I started prioritizing it. And so let's say an hour before I go to bed, I will leave the phone outside.
Okay.
So I won't be on my devices. Well, I try not to be on an hour before bed. I work with my wife, so she runs the business side of the clinic. So I'm pretty strict. I try and be. Let's not talk shop just before bed, because I get excited.
It's really, I know, but it's so hard. Like, I come from like a family business background, and like we quite often find ourselves talking about business over like the dinner table, for example. And look, I think that all forms part of having a business anyway.
It does.
But it's so important to recharge, because when you're able to recharge, you're actually more creative and more productive. Yeah.
This is my journey right now.
Good.
So, yeah.
You will. You'll find and especially, if you go away for a few days, take that time to recharge, because you'll be so much more productive when you come back. And it's breaking that pattern. I think sometimes we can get so stuck in that pattern of that routine, having that momentum, but you do need to sometimes break a pattern in order to change something and see a difference.
No, it's true.
Definitely. So let's have a quick rapid fire round.
Okay.
So you just tell me the first thing that comes to mind when I ask you a question. So what is the most overrated aesthetic procedure?
That is a good question. I might have to come back to that.
Okay. So anything that may be so it could be I don't know, fillers that they're going to completely reverse the aging process, or anything like that. Or what's one myth that you've heard that you're that's not true?
Yeah, so one myth is a filler moves from here to here.
Yeah.
Obviously, that's not true. And the other one is this whole thing about lip filler migration. A lot of the time, it's just bad placement. And people are using the wrong product in the wrong placement with the wrong technique. And so that's something that I just think needs to be sorted out.
Definitely. Is there any trend that you've seen that needs to just disappear?
Yeah, I think the BBL trend, I think that needs to just be taken care of.
If you could only perform one treatment for the rest of your career, what would it be?
For me, dermal filler. I absolutely love doing dermal filler.
When done properly.
When done properly in the right patient.
Worst piece of skincare advice you've ever heard?
You don't need sun cream because you're darker skin, like me.
This is so true. So I've heard darker skin types say that they don't need to wear SPF. What's going to happen?
I know, but you do. And really, I see a lot of Asian patients, and we put them in the skin scanner. You see the pigmentation just go, whoosh, and it shocks them. And I say, you got to wear your sun cream.
Yeah.
Because earlier in the consultation, do you wear sun cream? No, I'm Asian. I don't need to wear it, right? So yeah, that's it.
If you had to get one aesthetic treatment done for every year of your life, what would it be?
For myself?
Yeah.
I've got a couple. So Botox.
Yeah.
But I'm really into laser genesis at the moment.
Okay.
Because we've got the device, right?
Lovely.
And it's a lovely treatment.
Okay. What's the biggest red flag when choosing an aesthetic practitioner?
So they're not fully qualified. They can't give you original before and after pictures. They'll dot or Photoshop.
Or use a filter or something.
Exactly. They don't listen to you, and they don't give you time to think about it. It's okay, come in. Within 30 seconds, you're on the couch with a needle in your face. And I've seen this. Right?
I've seen that too, yeah.
So, yeah.
One skincare ingredient that is actually worth the hype.
Yeah, retinol. Definitely.
All day long. So thank you so much for joining me on today's Late Late Aesthetics show. If people would like to connect with you, where can they find out more about your work?
Yeah, so Instagram is Dr. Manav Bawa.
And I will tag that as well.
Thank you. And website is time-clinic.com.
Great, thank you so much. And I will make sure to tag you, and anyone who wants to connect with Dr. Manav, please do so. And I'm sure he'll be happy to see you in his clinic. Thank you.
Thank you so much.